Hey guys, it's Gus, and here's my Module 29 Lair the Mad Dragon build. And apologies for the very late release of this build. I actually wasn't going to put it out, but so many people have asked that I've been compelled to. So here you go. Hopefully this helps you get through the dungeon if you're still trying to work your way through. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through stats. This build relies on 4 group bonuses, Mystic Aura and Pack Tactics. It also relies on somebody using a tutor and a flapjack. It also relies on a portobello, but I'm using the portobello, and you'll see why in a little bit. So we'll go to stats first because everybody's always curious about stats. So power is at 82.7. And when you add the 2.25 power you get from Mystic Aura, 3.5 from the Portobello, and the 3.5 you get from the Forte from the Detector set, you're at 89.95, which is perfect in my book. I know a lot of people say green is perfect, but almost every person, well, every single person with a green stat is wasting stats. And I'd rather be 5/100ths of a percent under than be over, and because I just want to be efficient, not waste anything. So that's our power, 89.95. Accuracy sitting pretty good too. Right now we're at 74.7. When you add in the 2.25 from Mystic Aura, the 1.75 you get from the Forte um, from the Detector set, and the 10.8 you get from the Lightning, we're going to be at 89.5% accuracy. Again, really good. I like being between the 89 and 90% range without wasting any stats, which I failed to do on CA. CA is actually a little over. Right now we're at 58.1, but when you add in the 2.25 from Pack Tactics, the 10% from this helmet, the 3.5% from Portobello, the 5% from Flapjack, the 5% from Tudor, and the 7% from this detector set, we'll actually be at 90.85%. So we're actually over by almost a percent. Sorry about that. The only thing I really could have done is switched my companion equipment around, but actually would have it wouldn't have been efficient. I still would have been over in another stat. So we're over by 85/100ths of a percent on CA, which is actually okay because if you die, you can't renew this spider totem for 10 minutes. And also, it takes 20 seconds to get the full bonus. I'm sorry, 50 seconds to get the full bonus from this helmet. So I don't mind being a little bit over on the max rating because you're usually not going to be on the max rating unless you're in a boss fight, which this build is entirely 100% boss fight. Now, crit is not capped. Crit, we're at 65.7, but we're going to add 7.5% from this chest, and we're going to add 10.8% from the lightning enchantment, and we're going to add 10.75 from exploit weaknesses. We're at 87.75. So we're 2.25 under. And there's a big reason I'm never capped on this rating. There's so many ways we're going to get that extra 2%. When you activate your forger's box, it has a chance of giving you crit. If you have a paladin in the group, you're going to get crit. If you're having a tank in the group running the crit chest piece, you're going to get 2% for that. If you have anybody in the group running A train, you're going to get 2% from that. If you have anybody in the group running Blue Fire Eye, you're going to get 3% from that. So I really don't want to cap crit strikes. So I'm okay with 87.75. Crit sev, it says 77.5, but you're going to get 7.5% from the chest piece, and you're going to get 3.5% from exploit weaknesses, the companion enhancement. So now we're at 88.75. You're like, Gus, you're 1.25% under. Yeah? Well, if you really want that 1% more, just use an invocation blessing. I'll give you one that will put you at 89.75. And 89.75 is nearly perfect. It's really hard to get that last 0.25% without wasting any ratings. Or if you're really sweaty, you can just use the scroll of fate crit severity, and then use your invocation blessing for your crit strike. So that would put your crit strike at 87.75, and you'd actually be over capped on crit sev. So this set, if you're using invocation blessing, is short 0.25. Well, it's less than 1% ratings off if you have any sources of crit in this group. So I'm okay being under by less than 1% total offensive stats. For consumables, I'm using this the spider totem, the I'm using Sunlord's gift elixir, flask of potency +1, squash soup, and the prime rib that gives you 4,000 power that you can get from the stronghold, or you can also get it from Narbondolin from that food as well. But if you don't have either, you don't worry about power. You're gonna get so much power in this game that most people don't realize how much you're gonna get from um, Blessed Advantage. Whenever you're healed, you're gonna get 6% power, right? You're always gonna be over cap power because when are you not getting healed? Very few other teams I've seen other than myself are running without a healer. So most groups have a healer. And when you're getting healed, you're going to have this up the vast majority of the time. So even if this build is 500ths of 1% under power, it's going to be overcapped almost all the time. But so that was the consumables. We covered the stats. The helmet, pretty self-explanatory. You get the 10% combat advantage. You're going to get 1% every 5 seconds. And most boss fights are not really quick. They take a couple minutes, so you're going to have this up the majority of the time. And you can get this in the new master version of the dungeon. I'm not using the mythic version of this chest piece because that gives accuracy and combat advantage. And I tried every possible way to get that 200 item level to use it. So I couldn't. So I'm using the advanced one. So to me, this is the best one for the Hunter Ranger. For the gloves, I'm using the AP gain gloves. And the reason I'm using these is usually we're running AP pants. But these pants and this shirt are so high item level plus a set bonus uh, that you're gonna lose on AP gain. And for me personally, I cannot get the AP I need without these gloves. These gloves are so good. I only use 2 sets of gloves in the game. This is my advanced build, or I'm sorry, this is my master build, and my advanced build is just using these gloves. The Astral Raiders for scaled content, and the Starhide armband that you get from Master Defense of the Moon Dancer for the AP game. This AP is just too big. Um, there might be some rangers out there getting enough AP without these. I can't. I don't know how they're doing it, if they are doing it, but I'm using tacticians way too much, and these gloves are too good not to use, in my opinion. For the weapons, I'm using the Solarium basically for the high item level. I actually think Masterwork will be better in these if everybody's using them. Um, these give a 3% damage boost. Masterwork gives 10% damage boost. These do give a 5.5% damage boost based on the enemy's current health compared to your health. But again, that's not a very high. I imagine the average bonus this set's going to give you is 5%. I'd go Masterwork all day long. When I host, that's what we're usually going to use. I'm using the damage boots for the 4% in the new zone and the new dungeon, Lair of the Mad Dragon. Uh, there's the advanced version that gives the legendary ones that give 3.5% outgoing damage instead of 4. They're just as good, just a tiny bit lower item level. Artifacts, you can put any artifact you want here. I got the beacon right now. You do want these three are pretty much set. You're going to use the 1800 level Ida artifacts, the Searing Conduit, the Jewel of the Caldera, and the portable Spelljammer for the detector set. These artifacts will obviously change very soon because we know there's at least three, well, maybe not three, but there's a few more 1800 item level artifacts coming very soon, which will be great because these two artifacts don't give 3 offensive ratings, and I could use those offensive ratings. I could cap every stat in these if every both of these gave offensive ratings. I would be at 90 in everything. But I'm okay with being at 1% under everything. Um, this, I don't know where you can buy this one in the campaign store, and I think this one's only from the dungeon or the auction house. Don't quote me on that. The detector set is from Moon Dancer, still using it. It's so damn good. So what it gives you is it gives you 7% combat advantage. Every time you use encounter, you build a stack. Hunter Rangers use a lot of encounters. So that's what I'm using. It also gives you 7% forte, which is going to give me 3.5% power and 1.75% accuracy. And a tad bit of survivability from deflect, but I don't know anything about that. It's pretty much not helping. I'm still using the Demon Web Pit rings, the Platinum for the accuracy and AP gain, and the Sapphire for the 5% encounters. For the shirts, I'm using the 2% damage shirt and the 5% crit strike. And when you have two of them, they give you 2% accuracy. So we're trying to take advantage of all the stats in the game while achieving a higher item level. The race is Gith, just over 106,000 item level. We could actually be higher, but I don't think it'd be as efficient. Um, I have on a crit sev, a crit strike, crit sev, and a crit sev armor reinforcement kit on this side. On these four, it's all combat advantage. I have everything in strength and dexterity right here. Enchantments. I'm using actually using the new triple slot enchantments. I think these give if you have currently have double stat enchantments, these four right here will give you another 1,080, I believe it is, more ratings. And as you can see in this build, I'm not wasting a single rating. So I really like these. Unfortunately, they're stupidly expensive. If you don't have any celestial enchants, I would work on the triple slot. But if you already have the double stat, you probably want to leave these alone. Of course, we're using Garnet down here for the Forte. Defense, I don't. I just put any in here. The reason being is our defense and awareness is abnormally low. So any defensive enchantments we're going to put in here are going to have almost zero effect. You got to play really good with this build and not get hit. If you get hit, you're basically dead. And these defensive enchantments will have nothing to won't help you. Overloads, we're using Devil's Precision, which you can get right now, today as I'm filming this, from the appointment event. I forget what it's called, that one where you got to go in the pit. And I'm also, I replaced Rage of Flames with the Fiend Slayer. This Overload's really good. Um, all your um, all your main attacks get a 10% damage proc. Now this does not work on your roots, and it does not work on your mountain power, but it does work on your daily, your at wills, and your encounters. And just from my experience, this gives me more damage than the Rage of Flames does, but I don't have ACT to verify that. But when I need it, like on the imps on the first boss and the summoners on the second boss, these are really helpful for more damage. Of course, we're using Celestial Lightning. Movement speed bonus enchant will not go home without it. We move way too much on all three boss fights, and the slower you are, the less damage you're taking, and well, the slower you are, the less damage you're doing, and the more damage you're taking. You have to position yourself before you attack blindly. As a hunter ranger, you want to be behind the enemy. These enemies move, and the slower you move, the slower it takes to get behind them to get that 10% bonus from seekers. I know there is AP gain, and I know there is um, the recharge. I just find that I do better with the movement speed. Powers, nothing's changed. Still using aim shot, and I'm still using split shot. The reason I like split shot actually is there's times where I can't target who I'm trying to target because they're hidden behind other enemies. So split shot will ensure I will hit the enemy because it hits basically everything in front of you. Doesn't hit for a lot, but they only have a tad bit of health. I'll have more luck killing them with this than I will with this. These don't change long strider, constricting, hindering. Slasher's mark and disruptive shot. Disruptive shot you're going to use quite frequently with tacticians so that you get your encounters back. It's great. Without tacticians, you're doing 6 encounters in a row. When you got this, you do your 6 encounters, pop disruptive, and you do 6 more encounters. You will utterly destroy summoners, warlocks, and imps. I think this is the one advantage Hunter Rangers have over Warden Rangers that a lot of people overlook. The amount of damage we can do on an isolated enemy is very quick with this. Um, I'm not saying Hunter is better than Warden. Actually, I would say Warden overall can do more damage, but the Hunter, when you need the damage the most, I think the Hunter is going to perform. Like when you're in the Moon Dancer and the lieutenants come up, it's really easy for your not call the storm, split the sky to not hit the lieutenant when there's 10 mobs around, right? Or when you're trying to use split the sky on a summoner and it doesn't hit it because it's hitting the boss, you won't have that problem on the Hunter. So I'm really liking the Hunter because when the team needs the damage the most on specific targets, really doing it. But unlike the third boss, the Warden's definitely going to do more damage unless he's jumping around like crazy. Then you're going to miss with everything on the Warden. Still using Seeker's Vengeance, Crushing Roots. If you don't have a Flapjack or a tutor in the group, just go Aspect of the pack. You're not losing that much. Because the thing with Crushing Roots is all this does is give you 3 extra ticks of it gives you 3 extra ticks of your root damage. But the thing is, like during artifact calls and when the enemies come up, you're proccing roots much faster than the 3 second cooldown. Because when you use this and you use, well, if I was using this, but when you're using this for roots and hindering strike gives you roots and constricting arrow give you roots. But when you do um, when you do your disruptive to do these again, you're not having 6 seconds between each root power. You're having less than 3 seconds or 3 seconds or so between root powers. So you really actually won't lose that much going from crushing roots to aspect of the pack. Maybe overall, but when you need the damage the most, this isn't going to be that big of a loss. Powers haven't changed. I know a lot of people like using more than disruptive. I like the slasher's mark for the burst damage. Personal choice. Whichever one you want to use is great though. Boons, campaigns, put everything in all your offensive stats. Make sure you can put them in Marathon Runner. Use the Demonic Mastery. It works on, I believe, just about every single thing in this dungeon except the last boss. If you got extra points, put them in Lingering Medicine. This is the most underrated boon in the game. You want to, if you have the boons to do it, you want to use Masterclass for the Forte. You want to use Call the Power for AP gain. Quick turnaround for recharge speed. The 3 most important at the top I believe, are Bloodlust. Whenever you use an encounter, you put a debuff on the enemy where you do 3% more power. Plus, it gives you a damage proc. Life Lessons, this is probably the least important of here. Whenever you use it at will, it puts a damage over time on the enemy and a heal on time over on you. But the problem is on Hunters, we're not using our at wills very much. Blessed Advantage is so damn good. Not necessarily for the power, but you can build around it. But it's for the 15% recharge speed, which is so sexy. Um, Guild Stronghold, for me, I have it on movement speed. If I die, I'll hurry up. When I revive myself, I'll hurry up and put on Revive Sickness. I have it on the Crit Sev boon, and I have it on defense. Companions, I got Portobello. There's a couple companion equipments I would recommend using in the from this new campaign, but you want these legendary ones. The 2200 iron level is very, very good. But this gives accuracy, combat advantage forte, combat advantage crit severity, combat advantage crit severity forte. So I got 3 different ones for 3 different collection points, but you can use all 3 molten sword knots or all 3 molten tombs if you want to. Exploit weaknesses. I forget which mount gives this. My apologies, or which companion does. But it gives 3 point. It says 3.8, but it's 3.75% power or crit sev, and 3.75% crit strike. So this one's so much easier to bounce around, but you can use whatever you want. I have a Portobello summon. He's asked for damage, but I don't care about that. His group buff is just too darn good not to use. Companion bonuses, Batiri. If you're not on the boss, go and swap out Batiri for the Spine Devil. I don't. I'm too lazy. I don't care about the mobs. Nobody cares about the mobs. If you want to kill mobs, you can go to the world map and kill mobs up there. It's best not to waste everybody else's time, but go Spine Devil if that's important to you. Minsk, Neverwinter Night, Tomb Spider, Celestial Alliance Presence. We have to use Celestial Alliance Presence because we don't really have a lot of options down here that I found. Here we have a couple options. We have a few options. We could go with the Netheries. The problem with the Netheries is you have to be behind the enemy. It doesn't work on roots, and it does not work on your map power or your tool belt item, and it has an internal cooldown. So that's the problem with that. The um, the Blasphemous Assassin's Spiteful Presence is really good. The problem is you can't. It has the same uptime as Celestial Lion's Presence. It's up for 10 seconds. It's down for 10 seconds, and then it has a 50% chance to proc after that. So I don't mind. Actually, the case could be said for the Celestial Lion's Presence, or I'm sorry, Spiteful Presence. But the thing is, this dungeon has very specific times where you're going from super lazy till, oh shit, I have to put as much damage out as humanly possible in the short amount of time possible, right? Like when the summoners come up or when the imps come up. And a spiteful presence is not up during that time. It's not helping me. Meanwhile, this is doing magnitude damage, 25% on encounter use, and we're using a ton of encounters. So it's probably going to come up. I don't know which one's best. It's just my preference. I covered the companions. Mounts, Big B's hand, quick action. This bonus is so underrated. Um, as a ranger, we're using our dailies quite often. So if you use your dailies 3 times in a minute, this is going to give you back 18% of your daily, which is a shit load of time. 18% is like 14, 15 seconds of using your at wills. So you're going to get your dailies back much, much faster using this. So you can use this 3 times a minute and get 18% of your AP back. You can get a little bit more from Ferocity, which I always recommended until Ruhine showed me this, and I've never gone back. If you don't have your daily back for the artifact call, you're screwed. The group is screwed. You need your daily, and this will get it back for you. I love this power. It's so underrated. But you can go Ferocity. Every ACT I've seen for Ferocity is between 1 and 2% overall power or damage, but I would argue that if you don't have your daily, you're going to lose much, much more than that. And if you're not using your disruptive shot for, if you're not using your disruptive shot for tacticians, you're losing a lot more damage than that. I know you can cancel Force Ghost. I'm not a huge fan of that because when you do that, you have like a half second to a second where you're not doing any damage because it has the animation and then you got to dash to cancel out. And the whole time you're not doing damage. Well, when you do your disruptive, you are. So I'm just not a fan of the Force Ghost cancellation, but you can do it if you want. I prefer disruptive. That's me. Mount bonuses, we got executioners, menders. These two are why our defensive ratings are so low. Tacticians, gladiators. There's a couple things we could swap out for gladiators. You know, there's one that gives 5% forte. I actually used it in our speed runs, where you don't plan on dying. It's probably one of the best bonuses in the game, but if you die, it's gonna hurt. And I usually die in this dungeon, so I don't use that. Gladiator, 10% movement speed is just too good. Um, I know there's other ones. There's the artificers, warlords. I'm running Portobello, so Warlords will have no effect because, well, any companion I run, Warlords will have almost no effect because when your group gets better and better and you perform better and better, your companions do much, much less than when you first started this game. So, and all the ACTs of the top tier groups are showing that. That's just not my opinion We've seen that multiple times. But if you have a if you can definitely use warlords or artificers if you want, especially if you have a runic aura in the group, because with the runic aura you're going to get 2,250 more ratings, which means you can probably get rid of executioners or menders and go with that. But I'm just going to assume we're only going to have a pack tactics and mystic aura. Colors have not changed. Crit sev, encounter, gold. You can use any for that. I just happen to have gold. Um, movement speed. I've been using that. That was the first one I got, I think. And stamina gain, just because the other ones for supportive are all pretty much meh. This one actually does a little something, I guess. We would have more item level without these tacticians. Tacticians currently does not have a preferred bonus, neither does gladiators. So only ones we're getting with the preferred bonus is menders and executioners. That's why our item level is only 1,006 or 106,054. It could actually be higher if we put on a 1,800 level artifact right here. Um, Actually, I don't think we have. No, we don't have one. Never. Oh, magma. Quickest way to get kicked from a group is using this bad boy. Uh, I am a Gith. I have been playing around trying to see if I could fit out a I don't mind running Drow, but the problem with Drow is I run a lot of solo content and a lot of content where I'm helping people, so it's not really doing that much. So I don't want to keep switching all the time. So I'm currently on a Gith, but if the group's serious to do something really cool, I will definitely go Drow if nobody else will. It's such a good race, and we can lose that 5% combat advantage really easy by just putting on I could put on the CA shirt and lose a little bit of item level, or I can just put on aspect to the pack. No biggie. I was talking fast. These videos I put out are usually very long, and I try to make it a little bit shorter. So apologies for talking so fast. If you have any questions, comments, things I missed that could improve this build, or anything I did not explain fully, please comment below. Stay classy, Neverwinter. See you soon.